So I want us to talk about this body that is called the TRA. It's a very important body, especially in the hospitality industry. So the TRA is like a governing body which makes sure that people are compliant with the regulations that have been set there, especially for the hospitality industry. So we just don't operate out of the blues. We operate with a certain guidelines that have been set there for us. So this one stands for tourism authority. Has disappeared. So just a minute. So I guess some of you have already come across theory. If this industry, then this is a very important organ that you will keep on meeting day in, day out. Okay, so if you want to be in business, maybe having your hotel or having your small business in the hospitality industry, or maybe you want to open up maybe a tour farm and so on. So wherever that you want to work in, you will always, meet meet these people in one way or another. So they play a very key role, and especially in so I can't, just let me know whether you can be able to see my screen. Can you be able to see my screen? Can you be able to see my screen? I just want you to respond, because whenever I put this on.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see that there is a TRA and the classified establishment. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is good. So basically, they are the ones that make sure that at least the hotels are classified. You might wonder, okay, why do we say that this hotel is a 5-star and the other one is, a 2-star, 1-star? Okay, which kind of criteria do they use? So basically, the TRA are the ones who are responsible for that. They are the ones who make sure they do the round checks. They make sure that hotels are compliant, okay, to the standards which they are supposed to adhere to for them to be able to be classified. So basically, this is the classification register of August 2019. So it is one of the latest one. So we have the Greater Nairobi. This one is basically for Nairobi hotels and how they are classified. So we have the Intercontinental Hotel. It's one of the first one in the list. So you can see that it has, they have actually even included the capacity in terms of the rooms and the beds, okay? So like, for example, Intercontinental Hotel, you can see the rating at the far right. You can, the rating is in form of the stars. So that's how we rate our hotels. So that's basically, you can just count the stars and be able to know that, this one is a 5-star hotel, okay? By the number of the stars. So it is, Intercontinental Hotel is a 5-star hotel, and its room capacity is 326, and the beds are 372. So you can see that it is a really, really big hotel, okay? So if you didn't know, then it falls on that category. Okay, number one, because of the rooms also. So they have to check whether, do you meet the room capacity, okay, the bed capacity, do you meet it? Though they have other standards that you have to meet, which I'm going to introduce later on, but basically you can see that at least they can be able to even tell you, okay, if you want, even for example, if you want even to book into this hotel, you have maybe around 300 guests and so much more. You can even think of going to Intercontinental Hotel, because you know that all your guests are going to be accommodated in one place. So Radisson Blu is the second one in the list. You can see that it has 217 room capacity and the beds are 354. So if you cannot be able to see my screen or maybe hear me, you can be able even to put your mics on, because right now I can just only see the screen. So still a 5-star hotel. The Sarova Stanley is in third position, so which is 217, and you can see the bed capacity is so much more. Okay, so it is around 440 beds. So you have done the housekeeping, I suppose, and you have already known that maybe, for example, there is something that we call like the twin rooms. Okay, we have something that we call like the adjacent rooms and so on. So you can be able even to note, okay, if it has maybe capacity be 140 beds, then maybe probably it has a lot of twin rooms. Okay, yeah, for you to be able to have such, a number of rooms, but you have high bed. Okay, so you can be able even to see, okay, this one maybe is a double room and so on. So be attentive, especially in housekeeping, so that at least you'll be able to understand, okay, when you're talking about rooms and we're talking about beds, what does such questions during your sessions. So, and Villarosa Kempinski, you can see that it is in number 4, and it has a room capacity of 200 and the beds are 216. Okay, so you can see that it's Intercontinental Hotel, and you can scroll down and see that until number 11, Hemingway's Nairobi is the one that closes the list of the 5-star hotels that we have in Nairobi. So you can see that, Hemingway's Nairobi, it has a room capacity of 45 rooms and 50 beds. So it is on the lower side, but maybe for them, they look at the quality, okay? Like, for example, maybe they have the queen beds, the king size beds, and so on. So maybe they are just like, they are into, making sure that they have, these executive rooms and so on. So for them is more of, quality and, making sure that at least even the guests who are coming there are, people of another level of class and so on. So 4 stars you can see from maybe Hilton Nairobi Hotel. Okay, so most of you can be able to ask, okay, why should Hemingway's Nairobi be 45 room capacity and Hilton, which has 287 and a bed capacity of 334, be in a category of a 4-star hotel? How can that even happen? It's so ironical. People would normally think that Hilton Hotel is a 5-star hotel, but in the real sense, it is a 4-star hotel because of other standards that have been used to be able to classify it. So those are the things that we are going to talk about. So you can see that, maybe you can even see your favorite hotels here, the ones maybe you want even to get attachments in, you can be able, I think I will be able to share this list with you so that maybe you can just have an idea, even if you want to maybe to get attachments later on, maybe in these hotels, then you can be able even to know which star they are in. Okay, So this one is actually going to help you to be able even to know if you are going to work in future. What places would you want to work in? Okay, so you can see, like, for example, we have this Tutor Hotel. Okay, it's actually located in Machakos, so at least they went to the Greater Nairobi, even extends a bit in Machakos. So you can see that the bed capacity is 54, almost the same as the one that is here for the one that is for Hemingway's. Okay, so you can see that there is that list for Hemingway's. So you can see that Hemingway's is even lower, okay, even than the 1-star in terms of the bedroom, in terms of the rooms, okay. So, but Titot falls under category of a 2-star. Getting me? So Utalii Hotel is basically a 3-star. Is a 3-star hotel. So we also have until this list caters until for actually this list goes on to, it's not only about the Greater Nairobi, though it started with the Greater Nairobi, which you can see that it has a total of 59 hotels. I think some of them have not been classified. So, like, for example, you can see that some hotels have not been, listed here. Is either maybe they did not comply with the TRA regulations for it to be classified, okay? So a lot goes in terms of them, thinking of classifying. So at the coast, maybe, for example, you want to work at the coast, you can be able even to see the establishments that are there, okay? So you can be able to see that the 5-star hotels that are already there, the 4-star and the 5-star. So for example, the 5-star that is in the coast region, which is in Mombasa. So we can see that the Pride in Paradise, okay, so it's the one that is leading in that list. And the Swahili Beach Resort, Hemingway's Watamu. Actually, most of the Hemingways are normally, they fall under the 5-star hotel, okay? So you can just look at them later on. I'll just send you this list. You can be able to see them. So the South Rift, whether you want to work there, so just know that you can work anywhere. Okay, it does not matter. Like, for example, if you are, in Nakuru, you can be able to even get, attachment or jobs at Enashipai Resort and Spa is one of the best in Nakuru. It is a 5-star hotel. So we have the Mara Serena Safari Lodge. Okay, it is also under, it's in Narok. So you can just find these hotels just near you. You don't have to, look for jobs or, attachments only in Nairobi, okay? So we also have, in Kisumu, there are hotels. We have even the Acacia Premier Hotel, which is known to, work together with Kempinski Hotel. So it actually falls under, 4-star. It is not a 5-star, it is a 4-star. So that one is in Western region. So that one goes until the Western region is about Kisumu, Kakamega, Kisii, and so on. Actually, it has hotels that are even a 1-star hotel. So you can see, like, for example, this one they're calling the Dew Church. The Dew Church Drive Hotel, which has a room capacity of 13 and 16 beds. So you can even see that even the room capacity also may dictate the class of the hotel. So it is on its low side. So the Eastern, the Embu, the Meru, you can see that they have already listed until you can see actually in Eastern, Embu, Meru, you can see that they do not have a 5-star and a 4-star. Okay, so basically, if you want to work there, then you know that you're going to work maybe in a star rated of 3 to 2-star hotel, 1-star hotel. So that one gives you a heads up. Okay, so the central region and the Mount Kenya region, of course, you can see that it's also good in tourism, especially when you're talking about like Kipia. We have the Panari Resort Nyahururu. Okay, nowadays actually people are not before this pandemic and so on. The tourists were also moving from the coastal region and they're coming to these, other counties, okay? Especially when you're talking about maybe Nyahururu, people were trying to, the area is also conducive. There's a lot to be able to see in terms of wildlife and so on. So basically, also the tourism and hospitality has tried as much as possible to make sure that they are also marketing themselves, okay? And marketing themselves in terms of, also trying to move the tourists from, from the coastal region coming to the central region and other parts of the counties, okay, because the area is also conducive, okay. So like for example, if you're talking about the central region, okay, like the Nanyuki and so on. Also, the weather is a bit conducive, okay? It is not like it's so cold like Limuru and so on. So the tourists can be able also to feel comfortable in such areas. So the North Rift, you can see there. We have, I think, we have a 4-star. The Boma Inn Eldoret is a 4-star. So unfortunately, we do not have a 5-star there. So basically, that's it in terms of how the classification goes with the TRA. Okay. So each and every year, they make sure that at least they go to these establishments and ensure that they have checked, okay? They have checked whether they have complied with some regulations. So I want us to just see some of the other standards that they normally use in terms of classification. So that's basically you knowing already, okay, these hotels have been classified already. They are 5 stars, they are 2 stars. So what else, apart from the room capacity, do they check on? I think I've taken the screen out. Just a minute, I want to load this screen for you to be able to see. So you can always get this, the latest classifications from the TRA. They always provide them for the public to be able to see. And actually, that is actually what most of the hotels work for, okay? And they also try also as much as possible to even market themselves using this classification. Sometimes they are normally even featured in the newspapers and so on. So it also, boosts the hotel. So each and every hotel normally try as much as possible to be able to raise through the ranks. So if you are a foster, you really work so hard. Okay, try to ensure that whatever that you cost you not to be a foster, you're working towards it, so that maybe at the fifth, maybe the next year, you can be able to be classified as a 5-star and so on. So let me just share this one with you. I'm able to see it. So can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen that is written, the Kenya Subsidiary Legislation 2014? It has maybe the 1-star, and then at the last point it has remarks. Can you be able to see? Just communicate. Can you see my screen? Huh?
We can only see TRA, Tourism Regulatory Authority.
Okay. Let me share. What about now?
Not yet. Only the TRA.
So the previous one, could you be able to see the screen where there was classification of the hotels and so on?
Classification? No.
The previous screen that I had shared.
No.
Were you able to see the previous screen?
Myself, no.
So we're just talking things that you were not able to see. Okay, let me see how I can do this. Should have told me a long time ago, you people. You see. What about now? What can you be able to see at the screen? Just guide me so that at least I upload the right things. So,
Kenya Subsidiary Registration 2014.
okay, thank you, finally. So, I think we should go back to, first of all, the classification that I was talking about. So make sure at least you communicate with me so that at least from my side I can just be able to see everything, but from your side maybe just basically can't. What about now? Can you be able to see it?
No.
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 I don't know, sometimes it allows, sometimes it does not. And now, what about now? Can you be able to see the TRA, like the classified establishments register?
Yes, TRA.
Yes.
Okay, so basically this is what I was supposed to share with you. This is what I was talking about, and sorry for that. So this is the previous one that I was talking about the Greater Nairobi. You can see that I was talking about, yes?
Will you mind to enlarge? No, I'm not seeing.
Okay. Right now, is it better?
Better. It's okay.
Okay. So I'll be able to share with you this this document later on, so you don't have to mind about that. So it's just for us to be able to get an idea whenever we are talking about TRA and what basically they do, okay? So this is the Greater Nairobi and some of the hotels that are in the Greater Nairobi. So you can see that we have the number one there, that we have the Intercontinental Nairobi. Okay, it has a room capacity of 326 and the bed capacity of 72. It has a rating of 5 stars. So on your far right, you can be able to see those small stars that they have put there. That's basically the star rating that they normally use. Okay, so each and every hotel you will find that they have this their stars, especially when you're walking into the establishment at the front desk, then that's where they usually put all the information about the hotel there. So if you're keen enough, you can be able to see even the establishment, which kind of star rating it has and so on. So you can see even Radisson Blue, it falls under it, the Sarova Stanley, the Villarosa Kempinski, Fairmount, Norfolk, Sankara, Boma, the Tribe Hotel, Dusit D2. So you can see all these fall under the 5-star rating, and you can see that the last one, number 11, is the Hemingway's Nairobi, which is a 5-star, and that's when I was telling you about. It has a room capacity of 45 and a bed capacity of 50, but yet still it falls under the category of a 5-star. Okay, so basically the TRA people just don't use the rooms to be able to classify these hotels, but there are other things that they normally, use apart from, the room capacity and so on. That's what I wanted us to see, but because you had not seen this, it's wise that I show you. So the Hilton Hotel, you can be able to see that Hilton Hotel, although it has a higher room capacity, unlike the Hemingway's Hotel, and the bed capacity also it is on the higher side, but it falls under the category of 4-star. Okay, so why does it, fall under 4-star and still it has more rooms and so on? So basically, that's what I want us. I will show you later on after this. So you can see the 4-stars are so many in Nairobi. The 4-stars are actually many. You can see that it has around 11 5-stars, and the 4-stars are like around 20 something. Okay, if it is not 11, it's around 17. They are going to 20. So there are so many, and remember that there are others which have not been captured yet due to maybe to some reasons and so on. So maybe you can see that Sarova Pan-Africa Hotel it is a 4-star, although Sarova Stanley is a 5-star. So maybe there are some. The Southern Sun Mayfair Nairobi, it is also a 4-star. Yeah, so you can see even the City Lodge Hotel at Two Rivers, it's a bit new, but you can see that it's already classified under a 4-star. So a lot of them, I think most of the hotels that maybe you might have thought fall under the 5-star, they are actually 4-star hotels. Okay, so whenever I tell people that the Hilton Hotel is normally a 4-star, they think that it is a big joke, but a Hilton, it is a 4-star. Okay, so we have some hotels covering the Machakos, so like you can see there we have the Manzoni Lodge. So remember when we are talking about the Greater Nairobi, it also cuts across a part of Machakos County and so on. So like for example, you can see that Jacaranda Hotel Nairobi, you can see that it has a higher room capacity, 128, and a bed capacity of 256, and yet still it falls under the category of a 2-star. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is that there's a lot that normally goes on. There's a lot that normally goes on in terms of classification. So it doesn't mean if you have more rooms, you can be to, become a 5-star or whatever. No. So it'd be wrong if you think that way. So basically, the classification they have gone maybe from Nairobi. Actually, they have had all the counties, and you can see that they applied in Paradise. It is a 5-star, which falls under Mombasa under the coast category. So you can see that if you want maybe to go to Kwale, you can see that you have maybe the Swahili Beach, you have the Hemingway's Watamu, and that's why I was telling you that most of the Hemingways are really fall under the 5-star category, most of them. So you can see that, and also which one? So, like most people also think that Sarova White Sands is a 5-star, but according to this classification, you see that the Sarova White Sands Beach is actually a 4-star. Okay, like for example, you can see that Medina Palm Suites and Villas in Kilifi. It has a room capacity of 40 and 70 beds, but it is a 5-star. Okay. And why should, like for instance, the Baobab Beach Resort and Spa in Kwale, which has even, almost the highest room capacity of 343 and beds which are 686, and yet still it is a 4-star. Okay, so I think we've addressed such questions. So yeah, so example, you can see Amboni Beach House private villa, which is in Kwale. It has only 5 rooms. Okay, 5 rooms and 4 beds. Still, it is a 4-star. Okay, so you can see a lot of irony in terms of this classification. But if you do not understand really well, you can go even to the and see the Hollywood Bites Mombasa 0. Bollywood bites. Unless, is there someone maybe who is from Mombasa who knows about Bollywood bites? Anyone? Maybe some of them maybe might not have like, for example, accommodation, but they are more into go to some and know. You can just zero and remember that only a hotel is the one that normally has maybe the accommodation part. Maybe some of them do not have accommodation, but they are of standard. So basically what I was saying earlier on is that each and every county, it is presented. Maybe when you're talking about the South Rift, we have the Nakuru, Narok. You can see that also they have classified the hotels that are there, okay? So, and that's why I was telling you that this list keeps on helping you, maybe in terms of whether you want to, you know, get attachment, you want to get jobs, or maybe if you want to refer someone, okay? Some people maybe who want maybe to go to a certain place and they have idea, maybe you can be able to help them through. So in region that actually, unfortunately, we do not have a 5-star. So the highest may have the Akishi. So actually, the 4-star. Okay, it's one of the premium hotels in the Western region. The Eastern region, you can see that we neither have the 5-star or the 4-star. We only have the 3-star, which is the Mountain Breeze Hotel Limited. So it's actually at Embu. So the Central region and you can that 5-star hotel, a retreat lodge, and we have the Panari Resort at Nyahururu. So a lot of hotels maybe, you know, and always remember that each and every time a hotel can also go up or low, okay? So maybe, for example, it was a 5-star, it can always, you know, go low again. It can become a 4-star. So they are not permanent in terms of, you know, the star rating. That's why it is normally done annually, okay? So never say that, you know, there are no always be it will be graded according to how it tries as much as possible to maintain its standards. So if it does not maintain its standards, then definitely it won't be a 5-star. Okay. So unless there is any question, I want us to talk about you screen, right? Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we considered legislation of 2014. This actually with a bit of information about licenses and how you are supposed to, you know, the criteria that are normally used. Okay, like for example, let's just look at this one here. You can see that this is a first schedule. It talks about the criteria and standards for classification of hotels and restaurants. So for instance, you're talking about a tented camp. You want maybe to, how do you grade a tented camp? Okay, So number one, you see that the minimum score of tented camps, number one, to qualify for a 1-star grading, for instance, that's the lowest, the tented camp must score 100%, okay? 100% on essential items and a minimum of 50% possible you can be able to see that they already have like a schedule, okay? They, to go around. So a tented camp is a 5-star, a lot normally goes on. Okay, there are points that a hotel has to comply with, and some of these points, like for example, you can see that they look at the location. Number one is the location. They have to see if it's 1-star. Okay, it should be suited for a tented camp. Okay, suited for a tented camp, then it gets a score of 10. Okay, and if it is a 2-star, it should be same as for the 1-star. So it has to make sure that at least it suits, you know. And if it is maybe a 4-star, it should be the same as for the 3-star. So if it is the 3-star, it has to make sure that it is the same as for the 1-star, but should be within or in close proximity to the main attraction of the area and offer easy accessibility, safety, comfort, and tranquility. Okay, so you can see that even if it is just a location, it's just not location, there should be accessibility to the tented camps. Okay, so there should be safety. They have to look about the safety of the place. They have to look at the comfort and the tranquility. Okay, so that's one of the criteria on the part of location. And number two, they have to look at the site and the environment in which that tented camp is situated. Okay, like we can see that the one that is under the 1-star, the establishment should be in harmony with the natural environment. Okay, and in conformity with the building and the development regulations applicable to the locality. The site should be safe from rain, water floods, and strong winds. Okay, so they are trained, okay, to be able to check on all this. If it is matters of building, okay, this is in terms of the design and the architectural features, they have to make sure that exist building regulations, okay, modest in style and beauty, and structurally safe, should be in harmony with the physical, natural, and cultural environment. So a lot goes in, okay, a lot goes in. So you just don't come up with something and want it, and you will find that most of these establishments even can't even be classified, some of them, because they do not meet such criteria. So if actually your hotel meets such criteria, that's when it can be classified. So you can see if it is in terms of capacity about earlier on, the establishment should have at least 5 lettable accommodation, okay, accommodation units, especially for the tented camps. So you can even see that this one is basically for the tented camps. We haven't even talked about, you know, other things, other hotels. So basically, hotels, maybe the tented camps which want to, you know, or the ones that are normally in the parks, okay. the wildlife. So you can see in terms of walkways, hallways, and the staircase, they have to be of a certain way, okay? Like they should be in accordance with the building's code, allow easy passage, and be well lit at all times where applicable, safe side, a lot. I'll share also with you this one so that you'll be able to even have at least extra information on what goes on about it. If it is the front office area, the reception area has to have an appropriate area suitably designed for receiving guests. Okay. So you'll see that it has a lot of information, even in terms of hours of service. Okay, they say that it should at least 2 hours. Concierge service and an arrangement to assist the guests. So I think you already know what concierge is. So from your housekeeping, okay, should also know all these terms, especially it applies in the housekeeping department. Okay, so the type of furniture, equipment, and accessories, you can see should have adequate, functional, comfortable, and appropriate kind of furniture. The interior decor, okay, the lighting, the floors, the walls, and the ceiling. That's why you always find that, the hotels, most of these hospitality establishments go out of their way. Even if it's a design, it is, out of, they will always want even to import their own things, okay, in terms of furniture, they import them, the decors and so on, for them to be able to meet these kind of standards, okay. So there are so many, like for example, when you're talking about the kitchen is also very sensitive. This is whereby the area including food stores and the pantry should be in proportion to the capacity of the establishment, but shall not be less than 1.5 square meter per guest bed and so on. So basically, even if you want to to build your own restaurant or coming up with this hotel, you also have to have this in mind, okay? So that at least when you're building these buildings, you need to make them regulations for it to even be certified, okay? So there are so many, can't talk about all of them, just for you to be able to just take your time to go through them at your own time. So remember, you can always find this information from the TRA website. It's always available to the public. So you can see that there are so many. If I keep on scrolling here, we're going to use a lot of time. So I just want to see whether we have classification of a hotel. Let me see, this one is so you can see even we have the motels, okay? Remember, even motels are classified. The motels, they're already there. Okay. So basically, there are so many. They have each and every kind of establishment that falls under the hospitality. So basically, when I share this one with you, just make sure that you go through it and make sure at least you have be a hotel have maybe 10 rooms and maybe 20 beds, but yet still it is foster. How come? So you can see that a lot of things, are checked, and classification is basically in terms of the points, okay? The points that you score is the one that determine whether you are going to become a 4-star or a 5-star. So you can see that maybe some hotels normally miss a few points for it to be a 5-star. So that is what basically the TRA makes sure you keep on improving. And if they come check and so on, it makes sure that at least you can see when we have the guest houses, okay, the guest houses also have their own different classification. So each and every establishment in the hospitality industry has its own different standard that they are, that they are used to be classified with. Okay, you don't expect maybe hotels and restaurants to be classified the same way. It cannot happen. So they have their own standards in how they are supposed to be classified under. Okay. So there are so many. Unless there is any question, is there any question? Do we have a question on this type of establishments? The criteria that is normally used. Any questions? Proceed. Next one here. Okay, so you can see that we also have like G here, we have the restaurants. And the restaurants, you can see that, of course, the location part is very important. They will have to see where it is located, the building. Does it meet the design and the architectural? Does it have the capacity? Okay. Do they have the capacity? Do they have, the reception? You can see that in the restaurant, for instance, the reception area is not a must, okay? You can see they have already indicated not mandatory. For a restaurant, it is really not a must for you to have a front desk. I was Redemptor. You talked about the bistro. You are working in the bistro. Redemptor, are you with us? Redemptor? Do you have Redemptor? Redemptor is not here with us. So I wanted Redemptor at least to assist us to be able to, to understand, especially when she normally talks about her working in the bistro. So I wanted her to be able to tell us, especially in terms of the bistro, do they have maybe a front office? Okay. So, because according to the regulations, we already see that it is really not a must for you to be able to it's not mandatory for you to be able to have what? A reception here and so on. So you can see that at least this criteria that they not use, okay, it not only talk about the room capacity, it does not talk about the beds. It even talks about, okay, it has the billing system, it has the maybe entertainment, it has, you know, the floors, the decor, the lighting, the ventilation, and so on. So all these things give you points. So you might find that these hotels, like for example, the Hilton, which has, you know, low capacity, it meets all the requirements and maybe it exceeds, okay? So you find that they have higher points in regardless whether they have, you know, low number of rooms and so on. And also remember, even if it is, you know, these star-rated hotels, they enable even the hotel also to have a type of, you know, pricing, okay? They will have a specific, you know, maybe for example, they will always charge you maybe from 10,000 to 20,000 staying in that room, okay? It can go as high as even 50,000 for you to be able to stay in that room and so on. So basically, a lot of things normally go, you know, are put in place for you to be able to get those stars. Are we together? So I'll be able to share that one with you, so that at least you go through it, and maybe if you get any questions, you can be able to ask me later. So basically, I want to talk about the licenses that, you know, are given, and at least you have already had an idea, okay? So for you also to get these licenses, you need also to be able to comply to such regulations that they have put there. And remember that some of the regulations are already under the Constitution, okay? They're under the Constitution, making sure at least the hotels comply, and making sure that at least their establishments are safe for the guests to be able to join in and so on. Okay. So when you're talking about the licenses, of course, we won't be able to ignore about, you know, talking about the food and the liquor. So I want us to maybe briefly talk on matters of the liquor, which is very critical, especially when you're talking about the hospitality industry. Remember, the for example, even if it is a hotel or a restaurant, it's also allowed to be able to sell the alcohol, okay? Alcohol is sold in this establishment, and the alcohol also, you need to get a separate license for it. Not only are you just going to get one license for the establishment, just because you are selling food, you get the license. You also need also to make sure that at least you have the license for the establishment, you have maybe the license for you to be able to sell the food, you also have the license to be able to sell the liquor, okay? So that at least at the end of the day, you have met all the essential requirements that you're supposed to do. So when you're talking about the alcohol and the food, basically this one is when you're talking about the Public Health of Act, Caption 242, which falls under the laws of Kenya, which talks about making sure that like for example, this law has important provisions in the production of the food, okay? It states that all buildings should all buildings used for the storage of food must be constructed of materials, of proper materials, and they should be rat proof. Okay. And also it goes on talking about under section 131, it makes it clear that it is illegal for one to sell or sell food to man that is tainted, diseased, unwhole, unfit for human consumption. And that's why you always see that if you go against these laws, then you can be able to be sued, okay? So, for example, you cannot sell food which is, not fit for human consumption and so on. And that's why you'll always see that you also need to make sure that you get your medical certificates for you to be fit enough also to operate in the kitchen or to make food for the guest and so on. So basically, under the Public Health Act of Caption 242 and also under Act 254, which talks about the food, drugs, and chemical substances under the laws of Kenya. So in this section, especially in the Act of Caption 254, under section 6 and 7, it normally talks about the sale of food which is not of, it does not contain substances, okay? Like for example, you cannot sell like cookies which you have put maybe drugs in it, okay? So basically that will be against the laws that have been set there under section 6 and 7. And also it talks about preparation, packaging, and displaying of food under sanitized conditions, okay? Like for example, let's talk about maybe, for example, you are preparing cakes. So there is no way that you can just, bake your cake and just put it on top of the counter. Are we together? So it means that you are supposed to package your food nicely. Like for example, make sure that you have invested in the displays, okay? And that's why when you walk into the hotel, you always find that they have, put these areas to be specific. If it is maybe the display area, they have put maybe glass, okay? They have maybe, if it is the cakes, they have put it in maybe in the glass, in the glass counter for you maybe to be able to see them. As much as you're going to see them, they have already made sure that the sanitation, okay? There are no flies around and maybe nothing can drop on the cake and so on. So they have to meet all these requirements. So they are very important for you to be able to know them. So in case of so you don't say that you really do not know. And if you do not meet these requirements, of course you are liable to a fine not exceeding 200,000 or imprisonment, okay? So it's actually so serious, whereby if you do not comply to such regulations, especially in provision of this food and drinks, then you might find yourself in deep problems because it is under the Constitution. And of course, when you're talking about regulations, then they have the consequences. And remember, whenever there is laws that have been put there for you, then there is a consequence out of it. Like for example, you can't just wake up and steal your neighbor's property. If you steal your neighbor's property, what does it mean? The consequences that you get at the end of the day, maybe you will be jailed, you will pay a fine, maybe, some people even can kill you. Okay, so those are the consequences of you doing something that is wrong. And so even if it is, it is your own business, it is your own money, it is your own rules and so on. But remember, at the end of the day, there are also rules that you're supposed also to make sure that you meet them, and these are the rules that are under the Constitution, so that each and every establishment that is providing food and other services are abiding to those rules, because at the end the public, okay? So if you're selling it to the public, then you're selling it to a lot of people, who are getting affected by anything small that you might end up doing. So they are very important for you to be able to know all of them, okay? So they're just not there by chance. They are there to be followed. So, and I think that brings me to why I even shared with you maybe those criteria that are normally set there. And remember also the TRA makes sure that at least it follows the hotel and restaurant regulations that fall under Section 29 of the law in the laws of Kenya, which at least each and every establishment has their minimum standards. Even though you are not going to be graded and given maybe a star or, and such on, you are also supposed to meet some minimum standards, okay, for you to be able to be in operation. So under that Section 29, it talks mainly of, general establishment, what is supposed to have. Like, for example, it talks about all rooms shall be of adequate size for their use, okay? For example, if it is a standard room, then it should have that adequate space that, it's of a standard room. If it is, a double room, or it is maybe maybe, for example, it is a queen bed and so on. So at least there should be some standards, okay, that are there for you to be able to, to come up with all these rooms. And for example, when we are talking about mosquito nets, must be made available on demand. So there is no way that you are going to come up with an accommodation. You are having rooms, but even you are not thinking about mosquito nets, okay? That's a basic need that, that should be provided, okay, if you want to run an establishment. And that's why you will always find, even if it is a small hotel, it is, it is of a small size, it has a mosquito net, okay? I don't know how many people normally sleep out and all that, but if you go to this, even if it is these small hotels, you'll always find that they have mosquito nets there, because they try at least to make sure that they have the minimum standards, because the public health people keep on coming to your establishments. They will always be on you. And these are some of the things that can make you either to get a license or not, okay? So if you really do not meet these standards, these minimum standards, then basically even a simple license. So so when they say every bedroom shall be provided a mirror and a shelf of adequate size and so on, so each and every hotel also has to make sure, even if it is non-star rated, it has this minimum standards. So these minimum standards are really in your notes. There are several, and these things are the ones that I want you to be able to go through maybe when we have a short break, so that at least you can be able to see whether, are you ready to maybe start your own operation or not. So if some things are just, automatic, like for example, when you say that water should be provided to guests, and it should be suitable for drinking. So each and every establishment tries to do that. They provide water to their guests. Either the one you can pay for it or not to pay for it. So you can never walk into maybe these restaurants or hotels and miss water. So that is like a compulsory thing. So those are the simple requirements that can make you lose a license or get a license. So when you're talking about the licenses in general, so of course you have to apply for them, okay? You have to apply for them. Like for example, if you want a liquor licensing act, and especially if it is liquor, then we are talking matters of alcohol, okay? The sale of alcohol, the consumption of alcohol, and any other thing that goes on in terms of alcohol. So the liquor licensing act, much more of that one is in under number 4 of the laws of Kenya of 2010, which talks about when liquor can be served, when liquor can be served, what containers liquor can be served in, how much liquor can be served at a time, to whom liquor can be served, and how much liquor costs. Okay, so when we're talking about when liquor can be served, you remember is it called Mtuto? The guy is called who? The one who came up with a specific time in which liquor should be sold.
Mutudo.
Mtuto. My goodness. There's a lot of THs. Yes, okay. So you can see that he actually made it clear that alcohol should be sold at a specific time. You just don't sell it at any time. When should you sell alcohol, okay? So we are at like liquor licensing, and of course we are talking about when liquor in terms of the time. So I think, pardon the error there, but it's basically when liquor should be sold, okay, at a specific time. And so you could see that they have a specific time. When was it, Peter? At what time? From what time to what time? What time?
I can't remember the time very well.
The corona has made you, not you forgot everything about liquor. You have reformed.
Yeah.
Anyone else who remembers the time? Peter, only less than 3 months and you are already, So you could see that they had specific time, okay? Maybe no. Morning hours, it was a no. You cannot get any place that sells alcohol during the morning hours, okay? So maybe, for example, they had to sell alcohol maybe from 5 p.m., okay? Most of the time it was from 5 p.m., most of the hotels and all that. And that's why even in the industry, it was even serious, whereby you find that as much as you have a small section of the areas where you're supposed even to sell the alcohol, then even the people, the staff, the barmen and so on, you find that they used not to come to work during the morning hours. They used to come to work maybe, for example, from noon, okay? They come to work at 12 p.m. But at the end at 2 p.m., they will stay longer, maybe until 12 okay, when maybe they are done with the selling and so on. So basically, the timing is also is determined, okay, under the laws. It is determined, and what containers liquor can be served in it is very important. So in Kenya, for instance, you don't find alcohol sold especially in plastic containers. Anyone who has ever seen alcohol sold in these plastic containers? Anyone? Plastic paper bags, you know. Pata mtu amebeba plastic paper bag, you know, with alcohol in it. Plastic containers, for instance. Most of the time they sell the alcohol in glass, okay? Glass bottles, most of the time. Or maybe in the, let's say, in the cans, okay? Like, for example, the Tusker and the likes and so on. You'll always have those cans in which they sell the alcohol. So the packaging is very important. You'll find that alcohol cannot be sold in the plastic bags, neither can it be sold in any other form unless it is in the glass bottles or in those the cans that are that have been approved to be used in the selling. Why? Because also the reason as to why actually they do not allow the selling in such is because of maybe to try not to allow people just to carry alcohol anyhowly. So for example, if you carry them in a can or a glass bottle, so you really need somewhere to carry them at. So if, for example, it was just like a small, you know, those paper bags that we used to use before the ban of the paper bags, so you can just slip them into your pockets. And I really don't know why men, even if you buy, let's say, sukuma wiki and so on, do you get shy carrying them around, carrying the sukuma wiki and so on? You'll always find men wanaenda wanakatua mboga and they put you know, they put those mbogas in their pockets and so on. You know, I really don't understand our African men sometimes. So they will always put them inside their pockets. So you can imagine if it is alcohol and they are carrying it even in their plastic bags, they will always, you know, slip them inside their pockets and so on. So also how you are going to carry them around also matters. So they do not encourage, you know, like you carrying, you know, liquor anyhowly. And that's why if it is a glass bottle, you can't go on carrying it everywhere. Everyone will be able to know that, you know, you are really drinking alcohol and so on. And of course, if it is not permitted, then you get arrested and so on. But also, if you can and also when you're talking about the containers, it also helps also the country to not to allow smuggling in of this alcohol. So like, for example, you know, these types of maybe plastics and so on, maybe for example in Uganda they have not banned the use of maybe putting alcohol in these plastics and so on. So whenever they come to the country, it is so easy to be able to, you know, to know that they have been smuggled in and so on, and maybe proper action can be taken through it. Okay, so to whom liquor can be served, it is very important. In Kenya, we do not allow sale of alcohol to under 18 years. Okay, under 18 years, we are considered to be minors, and so there is no alcohol sale or consumption. And that's why you'll always find messages, okay? Maybe even if maybe there's a message which maybe there is maybe an advert, for example, they are selling alcohol and so on, they will always have to mention alcohol consumption is not fit for maybe under 18 years. Okay, it is not to be sold to persons under 18 years. However they will put their message out there, it always has to reflect that it is not permitted, neither is it permitted even by the manufacturers, also by the government, or any other authority that is responsible for making sure that the young people do not get alcohol. Okay, and even if you sell alcohol to the young people, you can even get arrested for that. Okay, because the law stipulates that it should not be sold under such age. So, and how much liquor costs? There is a standard amount of money. So remember, don't say that maybe because maybe the European countries normally allow the age of, actually, like for example, Germans. Okay, Germans actually are very known for the production of beers and so on. So for them, actually, the age permit is 16 years. Okay, 16 years you can be able to buy alcohol. If you reach 16 years, they are so happy they can be able to buy and drink. In Kenya, okay, it is 18 years, and that is something that should stand unless you go to Germany and so on. So how much liquor should be sold? There is a standard amount of money. I don't know if you can be able to remember the amount of money. Maybe you could be able to buy beers. Maybe we can be able to share certain amounts of money that maybe you have ever bought alcohol in. You can put your mics on, okay? Should be able to discuss. So how much amount of money do you maybe see maybe a bottle of beer costs? Even if you do not drink, at least you have an idea how much they sell. Morioki, how much?
250.
Morioki, we cannot hear you.
250. 250.
150?
250.
250. That's like
Yeah.
a bottle of, is it
Yeah.
like maybe Guinness, Tusker? Just give
Like
us
all
an
of
idea.
them. All
All
of
of
them are
them,
the same price. Yes.
250.
Yeah.
Okay, Morioki says 250. Maybe you can just write the prices here down so that at least when you're talking about maybe a specific amount of money, all of us can be able to relate. 250 according to Morioki. Any other person? Any other person? Eric? Eric? Mansura? Okay, Eric, how much?
250.
250 according to Eric. Mansura's gone. Jacqueline, how much? Jacqueline is typing for us. 250. So everyone is just 250. Mwende, how much? Mwende, are we together? Peter?
Nowadays, that's the price.
250. Every establishment.
Many of them are 250. Somewhere else you can find it 300 or 280 for the beers.
You have said 300. Others? Okay, Mansoura is 300. You said another one, Peter? 280.
80.
280. Okay. Achie? Achie, how much? 300. Okay, 100, 280. So you can see that from just the figures that we have and the ones that you have given, the amount almost ranges the same. Okay. The liquor licensing has put across, okay, to each and every establishment that has to sell alcohol. Either you are a retail or a wholesaler, or you are, any outlet that sells alcohol, they have a specific amount that they are not supposed to exceed. Like, for example, they can say that liquor should be sold maybe just an average amount of money from 250 to 300, and it should not exceed there. Okay, so definitely they cannot give a specific amount of money that it should be sold, but they normally give like a range. Okay, like for example, if they come into your establishment and they see the selling they have put across, then you can miss your license. Okay, so very small things can make you lose a license without your knowledge. So if you are supposed to comply, and they have to make sure at least each and every establishment that has to sell, either the brewers, either the wholesalers, or either the retailers, and so on, they have a specific amount of money that they need to sell the alcohol for. And that's why you see that the range is just the same. Okay, you see maybe most of the establishments go to 250 in regardless. Okay, so maybe you're taking the black ice, it is 300 ml, or you're taking maybe a whole beer, like 500 ml, the price will always range the same. I can never go and say, okay, this is a 300 ml, why should it even cost 250, and this is 500 ml? So like, it has a standard price. Okay, so, and each and every person who is going to buy the liquor, they already even know the range, okay, of money that they are not supposed to pay for. And if it is too much, then you can be able to even report. Okay, so you can see that you are selling it at a very high price, then you can be able to. So unless it is, this actually applies to local. Remember, as much as we are just talking about liquor, this normally applies to the local beers, okay? Local liquor. But we have international liquor, okay? So I don't know how many have just walked into a restaurant, wherever. It doesn't mean that you have to drink, but also for your general knowledge, you just walk in and just see there's a list of local beers and international beers. You will always find that they have, a big contrasting figures. You'll find that, the local beers, they are just over standard price because the government allows that, okay? But you cannot control the local, the government cannot even control, let's say, for example, even the international beers, okay? Because you are the one who imported them, the cost that you incurred. So whenever they tell you maybe a tot can cost even maybe, for example, 500 shillings or 1,000 shilling, do not be shocked, okay? So that is basically the international standard, okay? So if it is international liquor that you have in your establishment, then you can be able to manipulate the prices. But if it is the local beers, then you have to be of the specific standard. And that's where you'll always see the difference. Maybe some of you have noted and wondered, okay, but why do I have to buy Henken at a specific amount of money, remember that these ones are not even produced locally, okay? So you have also to note that. So the licenses keep on changing. Like for example, they range between 15,000 to 50,000, and also it determines also the locality. Like for example, if it is maybe a general retailing license in the city, it can cost up to 50,000. Okay, annual. Remember that these licenses are annual. Okay, you can be able to pay for them annually. Each and every year you have to renew your licenses, and you pay this amount of money to facilitate that. So if it is maybe in a maybe a rural area, then you pay as low as 15,000, because it also, they have also to be sensitive enough, because in the city maybe people drink much, but in the local areas the consumption is a bit low. Okay, also for you to be able even to raise that amount of money to pay, then it might become difficult. So you'll find that the licenses are the same, but because of the area in which you are operating in is different. Okay, so like for example, a hotel alcohol drink license within the city is 50,000. So and that's why I told you that as much as you license the establishment and you are selling alcohol, those are two separate licenses. You have to pay maybe a license for selling the alcohol, and you'll pay license also for the establishment. Okay, so you're not like you're not exempted, okay, because alcohol is on another case. Okay, so and also the laws are specific in terms of maybe an establishment has its own, specific regulations, and the sale of alcohol also has its own regulations. And when the public health officers come on checking, or maybe the city council officers keep on checking, they always have to make sure that they have checked all these licenses. And of course, if you have not even paid, you already know what those people do. They are not so good, especially if you have not complied with their laws. That's why you'll always find businesses that are not legal. They will always, whenever they see these people, they will run. Okay, because they know that they will not have an easy time. Okay, they might end up paying a very huge fine, or you get imprisonment. That is allowed because it is a law, and everyone knows about these laws that are there. It's just that people assume, they think that they can run away from these laws, but they are so specific. So basically, I want us to talk about the Alcohol Drinks Control Act number 4 of 2010 under the laws of Kenya. So make sure, at least when I'm mentioning about these laws, this is actually something that is there in the Constitution. Okay, so these are things that you can be able to go through. I don't know how many people have gone through our Constitution, and even if you have this Constitution, most people don't read the Constitution. It is very important to read, because some information can pass you, and they are very important information. Okay, so these ones are already in your laws. They are not new things, and the purpose of this act is just to control the production and the sale and the use of the alcohol drinks. Okay, number one, it makes sure that it protects the health of individual in light of dangers of excessive alcohol consumption. And that's why you will always see that there is messages written in bottles of the alcohol, which maybe say that excessive alcohol consumption is not good for your health. Okay, they will have to make sure that you are informed. Okay, it's a bit ironical. The same government which makes sure that at least the same government has maybe has a responsibility to make sure that it provides licenses to people who produce alcohol, but at the same time it tries to protect the health, okay, the health of its people. Okay, at the end of the day, they will always, try at least to be able to meet at a neutral point. So they will always make sure, as much as they have given the permits to people to sell the alcohol, but they also make sure that at least these messages are, written, so that even if you drink this alcohol, you already know that it is harmful to your health. Okay, so it is up to you to be able to know how to handle. And they are the same people who you will find that, the police checks. They will, they will arrest you if you have, it's a lot of work if you can try understanding it. Okay, so basically the act normally talks about the protection of the health. Okay, in light of this, they will always have to make sure that the messages are clear to any person who is going to consume the alcohol. You either see some messages, like for example, they always say maybe alcohol will cause liver cirrhosis. There are those ones who go even so, they are so malicious, they will give you that information. They will write it there. Okay, it causes liver cirrhosis. And some will say that we do not operate heavy machinery, and the excessive consumption, do not drive, do not do, these messages have to be written for you, so that at least when you drive, you're causing an accident and you might die. So number 2, they protect the consumer of alcohol drinks from misleading, maybe advertisements or messages and so on. Like for example, they will always say the way it is. Okay, give the message the way it is. You have to take it the way it is. So whenever someone tells you that alcohol can cause liver cirrhosis, they do not change that message. So if they say that excessive alcohol is not suitable for your health, that message should be portrayed that same way. Okay, so they restrict, and that's why you will always find that even if they are going to advertise alcohol, they will have to give that message. Okay, they will not sugarcoat it. They will not, say beautiful things about alcohol. Okay, they will give the message the way it is, just not to mislead people. So actually the laws are the ones that guide on that. So if they will note that there is any person who is misleading, then those people definitely face the law. Okay, so and another thing that the law talks about is the protection of the health of persons under the age of 18 years, and that is something that is so clear to each and everyone. Okay, alcohol should not be sold to minors. Okay, any minor is someone who is under the age of 18 years, and so the laws are there to protect these youth people not to maybe to get into the influence of the alcohol, and they will always make it so clear. Okay, so selling alcohol to children under the age of 18 years, definitely it is punishable by law. Okay, so you cannot get out of it. And another one is to inform and educate the public on the harmful health, economic, and social consequences of consumption of alcoholic drinks. So this one, everyone can relate with it. Okay, so this is the government, like for example, is it it's called what? Narcoti. Is it Narcoti? How is it called? How is it called? The one that makes sure that at least people do not. These laws are Nakada. Okay. Nakada. They make sure that at least let's just write it there for you. Okay. So NACADA is the one that tries to face things about alcohol, drug, and substance use. Okay. So basically, it is an agency that normally fights against alcohol and drug abuse. Okay. Relating all this. So the NACADA always make sure that it educates the people. They make sure that they sensitize the people on the harmfulness of drinking alcohol, especially the illicit brewing. That's why you will find that they always, go to these places whereby they are brewing illicit alcohol, and they will, make sure that at least they pour it away and so on. So they control all that, and they make sure at least they inform the people that, alcohol can also make you not operate normally. It can make you, not work so much to be able to provide for your family. It can also lead to maybe abuse, maybe beating your children, beating your spouses, and so on. So there are so much, negative effects of consuming alcohol, which they have to make sure that at least the public are sensitized, they know about it. And about is they should promote and provide for the treatment and rehabilitation programs. Okay, like for example, of course, there is public rehabilitation centers which they make sure at least people who are addicted can be able to get rehabilitated, maybe at a low cost, unlike maybe in private centers. Okay, so you see that as much as they give as much as they give these licenses out, then they make sure that at least manufacturers, retailers, and the wholesalers can be able to sell the alcohol, but they are also mandated with the responsibility to make sure that the publics are able to be protected. Okay, so there is a whole procedure on how to get the licenses, and that is something that basically I want you to be able to go through. Okay, it is a whole process that you can be able to read it by yourself and understand. Okay, you can be able even to get to know the persons not eligible for a license. Just go through your notes and make sure that you have checked all that. Okay, so you might ask, maybe do they sell alcohol in vending machines? Alcohol is not sold in any vending machine. Vending machine, especially, I don't know how many people know about the vending machines. At least you might be having idea. The machines whereby at least you just go buy. Okay, like for example, you just put a few coins and maybe you get your alcohol. Okay, so these machines do not allow, they only sell maybe the non-alcoholic beverages. You'll find sodas, you'll find maybe juices and so on, but alcohol, no. Why? Because the vending machine cannot regulate, maybe is it maybe a young person, is it a minor, or what? So because it cannot be able to tell, a machine cannot tell that this is a young person, so they do not sell there. And because, so they allow the places so it is whereby mature people are, and they can be able to say that indeed this is not a person who is supposed to be to be sold to and not to be sold to. So basically that is about the licenses, unless you come across a question which you want me to address. Any question?